Okay, Gary Breen, what a North London derby that was today. Absolutely amazing. I might just ask you first about the losing side, Tottenham. What will they take out of this game? What do they have to do now going on from here?
Well, listen, Pochettino knows how to solve problems. He's got a squad that he can trust normally. But I think the biggest shock for him was that having led at half-time, the message would have been to his players, listen, Arsenal have been strong in second half throughout this season. Be ready for that. And they didn't seem like they were. To go 4-2 down, having led at half-time, is so unlike a Pochettino team. And he'll look at that and he'll be disappointed. I think he'll be angry. And it was certainly an incredible North London derby. It literally had everything from start to finish. And it was really felt like a throwback to a bygone era, really. And I literally felt like a teenager again watching it. But a great performance, a great result by Emery in terms of what he's doing with his Arsenal team, in terms of taking over from Wenger and what he inherited. Still a lot of work to be done, there's no doubt.
Does it rank as one of the best North London derbies you've ever experienced?
Yeah, I think it does. In terms of the context going into the game, that Spurs were so strong, had dismantled the Chelsea team who were unbeaten last weekend, then gone and won in the Champions League against Inter Milan. This was a test that Arsenal had to pass because everyone had talked about that 18-match unbeaten run, but there's still questions. Obviously, the two defeats initially to Manchester City and Chelsea at the beginning of the season, when Emery had literally been in the door, hadn't had enough time to work with these players. But you can see what he's doing from the start to finish. The defensive structure in terms of forcing turnovers, stopping Tottenham playing out from the back, which they're so good at. So many teams in the Premier League are not able to do that, and they constantly were able to do it in that opening 20 minutes. And it set the tone for the rest of the game, from which Tottenham, despite going 2-1 up late on in the first half, didn't really recover from.
And to ask you finally about this game specifically, you gave your man of the match to Lucas Torreira, and he's been so good so far this season. But how many times have we seen continental midfielders or midfielders maybe from South America come to the Premier League and get absolutely gobbled up? He's only 22 years of age, and to make a statement like that there today, not just the goal but his general play, what does that say about him going forward for Arsenal?
Well, listen, it says so much. And initially when he came into the team, because they didn't play him in the beginning, that, to our frustration, also to Arsenal fans' frustrations, because we could see he was a good player. We've seen how well he performed for Uruguay. We knew that he was the answer to what Arsenal have been lacking for years now, as a presence in central midfield, despite his diminutive size. And he gave exactly that today. He reads situations, he plays with a maturity beyond his years, as you quite rightly said, and what a difference he makes to this Arsenal team. He allows other players to look better. He makes Xhaka look a far better player than he does on his own, and that's an incredible thing to have at such a young player. Not only how he affects the game, but how he influences his teammates around him.
Now, two of the players we saw out there today, Christian Eriksen, we all know so well, and of course Granit Xhaka on the other side for Arsenal. Ireland are going to be getting up close and personal with these guys over the next 18 months. We've been drawn with Switzerland, we've also been drawn with Denmark, Georgia and Gibraltar. What's your thoughts on the draw, Gary?
Well, initially, I look at it and think it could have been far worse. I think you look at the group that Northern Ireland have got, that we seem to have jumped out of, which is great. I know Germany are struggling, but they're still a powerhouse. You expect them to recover. There's a renaissance under Ronald Koeman with Holland, so it's good to avoid them. Having said that, there's a sobering thought that Switzerland have been so consistent over the last couple of seasons. Denmark have put us to the sword recently. And of course, Mick McCarthy's probably alluded to it, maybe as a throwaway comment, that he has revenge. Obviously that defeat to Switzerland cost him his job, essentially. I don't necessarily think it was based on football results, more a popularity contest against Roy Keane on the back of Saipan. But nevertheless, a focused Ireland, an organised Ireland, can very well get out of that group.
I've seen Switzerland playing a couple of times in the Nations League. They're so dangerous going forward. Mick McCarthy's got a big job in his hands trying to organise an Irish defence. Like he gets his hands literally on that squad before their first competitive match. That's probably the biggest job he has.
Well, it is, and he'll know. He'll have done his research. He, as a supporter, been away from the job, would have watched the Ireland team playing. He knows what our strengths, what our weaknesses are. He will believe that he can make a difference, and I believe it as well. I believe a manager who comes in there and does a lot on the coaching ground can make that team better than what he's shown us over the last year or so. There's no doubt in my mind about that. He'll work on the opposition. He'll identify weaknesses in their game, despite how consistent Denmark and Switzerland have been recently. But I believe that Mick McCarthy and his know-how, because he comes into it as an experienced manager, a better manager probably than he has been because of the years since he was last in the job, and he'll be desperate to do well. There's no doubt about that, and I think it's an exciting time for Ireland now.
And just finally on Denmark, you know, we've put the 5-1 aside, but we've been bored to tears so many times from Ireland-Denmark games. Do you think Mick McCarthy can, put a rocket up this squad's backside and get them out there? And maybe Denmark won't be expecting the kind of performance, say, a la something like when you were playing under Mick, or something like when we beat Holland in Dublin that time before the World Cup.
Well, he'll be looking to get that connection with the supporters, and I think he'll have it. Listen, we always want to go back to those great times. I don't think this squad is anywhere near the quality of the one I played off, and probably ones before that. But it's not about that. It's not really about looking back now. I think it's about looking forward. We've underachieved. These players will be organised now, so it's up to them to step forward now and play and show the quality that they have. But it will be an exciting time. I believe that. I think the connection is there with supporters again, going away from the apathy that they were showing towards the end. I think defensively we will be organised, but Mick McCarthy will want his team to play on the front foot. He'll understand what it means to play for Ireland in Dublin, and how the fear factor has a massive bearing on teams coming to play us there. I think we lost a little bit of that towards the end of O'Neill's reign.
We got to get a bit like the Emirates, isn't it? Like the Aviva Stadium, the atmosphere has died over the last couple of years, a bit like it had here, and we need to get it rocking like it was here tonight at the Emirates.
I think there's no doubt our Irish supporters, who are the envy of the world really in terms of the atmosphere that they create, they'll be there, no doubt about it. But to do it, you've got to give them something to cheer, and that's been the difference. We've had little or none of that. Just getting people behind the ball in and around the 18-yard box, having little going forward, no real cohesive style of play, no real strategy in terms of how we're trying to hurt the opposition. All that will change under Mick.